Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Monday, September 16th. Jaguars fall to 0-2 after a very disappointing loss to the Cleveland Browns. The Jaguars defense hasn't given up more than 20 points in the first two games, and the Jaguars offense has failed to eclipse that mark. So very disappointing start to the season. Two games the Jaguars could have and should have won, in my opinion. But they're sitting at 0-2. It's not getting any easier. Next 2 weeks. At Buffalo on Monday Night Football, at Houston. So it's looking pretty rough right now. It is. I know there's a lot of people abandoning ship. There's a lot of Jaguars fans saying, fire Doug, fire Press, blow it all up. Trevor Lawrence isn't the answer. I'm not there. But I do want to talk about what's wrong with the Jaguars offense right now. I think there's a number of factors certainly playing into the lack of sustained success over the first 2 weeks. We're going to dive into that here today. So again, I really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop. Get some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Become a channel member here on YouTube. So let's start here. This is something I've noticed the last couple of weeks, and I went back just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. There's no pre-snap movement. And almost exclusively the best offenses in the league use a lot of movement to identify coverages, to create leverage advantages, to create mismatches. Most of the best offenses are doing this. Shanahan style, McVay, that coaching tree is all across the league. They're doing it a bunch. And it's not just those coaching trees either. I mean, you saw Philly wasn't doing it last year. Now Kellen Moore comes in and they're running a lot of motion, pre-snap motion, to again identify coverage, create leverage advantages, and create individual mismatches. Helps a lot. Being dynamic before the snap makes it easier on you, makes it harder on defenses. The Jaguars are not doing that. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but I saw one pre-snap motion in this game, I believe, for the Jaguars offense. So yeah, I think that's ridiculous. You got to catch up to the modern game, in my opinion. And the more I watch this offense, especially against Cleveland this week, they just make it hard on their guys. Either that or there's just zero execution. Or just not understanding assignments. Either way, to me, that's on coaching at some level. I saw so many examples of just really difficult assignments. You're asking Brian Thomas Jr. to get inside the C gap to make contact on a blitzing safety. Otherwise, the play is absolutely blown up. They had zero answers for these blitzes by linebackers and safeties against the Browns. Zero answers for them. How about first play of the third drive? You're running a little PA rollout to the left side. By design, Gabe Davis is responsible for blocking Zadarius Smith. And you think that's going to work out well? Brenton Strange had several missed opportunities to pick up big blocks. The offense, it just did not look prepared to try to handle these blitzing linebackers and safeties, mostly in the C gap. Early on, beyond the issues with blitz pickup, you're trying to exploit the matchup of Gabe Davis versus Denzel Ward early on in this game. That's a mismatch that's in favor of the Browns. No offense to Gabe Davis, but Denzel Ward is one of the best cover corners in this league. Gabe Davis is not one of the best receivers in this league. So I have major questions about that. A little bit later on, Trevor Lawrence misses Gabe Davis, who did get open on a third down. Asking Dearness Johnson to pick up Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the gap, in the hole. He can't do it. Leads to a negative play. So again, lack of execution in these moments, lack of a cohesive plan to handle blitzes, in my opinion. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he's one of the best blitzing linebackers in the league. We know that. He's got incredible speed, explosiveness. Just a weird structure, though, that to me was not conducive to winning early on in this football game. First half of the game. And it felt like two different games between the first half and the second half offensively for the Jaguars. It really did. Like Lawrence, individually, he missed some throws early on in this game. I thought he also bailed from the pocket early from the 4-yard line with about 4.5 minutes left in the first half. He had Brian Thomas Jr. for an easy score. If he just stuck in there for a hair longer, he would have seen Brian Thomas Jr. He was looking to the right side where Brian Thomas Jr. was, but he bailed early out to the left. Didn't see Brian Thomas Jr., who, again, I think would have had an easy score. So, yeah, not a good first half for Trevor Lawrence. Not a good first half for the offense as a whole because, again, Trevor wasn't playing his best. For sure. He was not. But some of the assignments the Jaguars were asking guys to execute just didn't make sense either. But Trevor Lawrence was very good in the second half. First drive of the second half, it was just blown up by Cam Robinson not being able to get hands on a linebacker. First play of the drive, couldn't touch Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah trying to get to the second level. Then second or third play, he's pulling to the right side, can't get hands on Jordan Hicks. So that play or that drive was just blown up by Cam Robinson not being able to touch a linebacker twice. The next drive, move the ball down the field, good drive. Trevor Lawrence playing good. Touchdown gets called back. Trevor finds Christian Kirk. Nice play, nice throw, nice route, nice catch. Illegal shift, Dearness Johnson. That would have given you the lead. I mean, even after Cam Little missed a field goal he should have made, even after all the mistakes that happened early on in this game, that would have given you the lead. 17-16. The next drive after that was the safety where, you're pinned down at the 1 at your own goal line. You draw up a full drop back. You have poor pass protection. Myles Garrett's racing upfield against Cam Robinson, forces Trevor Lawrence to step up. Mitch Morse and Ezra Cleveland double teaming Alex Wright. Can't get the job done. Trevor Lawrence gets sacked. You could certainly say Trevor Lawrence could have just tried to get rid of the football. But to me, running that type of full drop back passing concept backed up on your own goal line against Myles Garrett doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then the offensive line did a horrible job with that double team. So, and then they just stare. The offensive line. They are not team looking for work. After they feel like they've done their job, they're not looking for work. And then Trevor Lawrence is getting absolutely crushed in the backfield. They're not running over to help him up. They're not running over to defend their guy. They're just staring. And that's rough. That is really rough. The next drive, Trevor Lawrence on the money. It's that not a lot of time left in the game, but moving the ball down the field gave Brenton Strange a shot at that Hail Mary. Probably should have caught it. But yeah, I thought that Trevor Lawrence was very good in the second half. There was some dropped passes. Gabe Davis should have had a catch on the sideline. Brian Thomas Jr. did have a drop on a slant, wide open. But I honestly feel like the offensive structure is holding them back a bit right now. The execution up front stinks, especially when you're asking Cam to pull. Again, Trevor Lawrence was struggling in the first half, no question about it. Had a very good second half. I don't think that the blocking scheme, what they're asking guys to do, consistently aligns with what the guys are good at. Like, again, Cam Robinson struggles in space to make contact with linebackers way too often. So, I think as a fan, if you want to be mad, angry, say, fire this guy, fire that guy, that's your right. Absolutely, it is. But, from an honest evaluation standpoint, I honestly do think that this is it's close offensively. The Jaguars are close. They were running the ball up and down the field in week 1, running and throwing it in week one until they decided to go into a shell in the fourth quarter and not pass the ball at all. They should have had the lead in the fourth quarter in this game. They did have the lead until the final play in week one. So yeah, incredibly disappointing to lose these two football games and now to lose 7 of 8. But I honestly don't look at what I'm seeing right now in relation to what I saw at the end of last season because it doesn't look the same. It's not the same. End of last season, you have a hobbled Trevor Lawrence with a hobbled football team. Offensively right now, the Jaguars are fairly healthy. Yeah, they were missing Evan Ingram in this game, but they are fairly healthy. Trevor Lawrence is healthy. So it's not the same situation. But if you want to look at it in that regard, sure, you can certainly do that. But from an offensive structure standpoint, I really can't understand why there aren't more RPOs. They execute those very well, and it's kind of an easy button. Why there's not more easy access short reads over the middle. Why isn't there more pre-snap motion? It is such an advantage for offenses. I don't get it. You also got to get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. way more. I know he had a drop in this game, but in that first play where Martin Emerson almost picked it off, to me, that was more on Trevor's ball placement than anything Brian Thomas Jr. did wrong. But they got to figure out what they're doing. They need to get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. more. Tank Bigsby wasn't really available in this game either after he got rocked on that return. They got to figure out what they're doing with Christian Kirk. He should have had the touchdown in this game, obviously, but still, even if you add that play in there that didn't count, only 4 targets. He's too good for this to be going on. Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, he got 4 targets in this game. Britton Strange had 6. Gabe Davis had 7. Gabe Davis and Britton Strange should not combine for 13 targets, and they should not account for half of the passing game. I'm sorry. They just shouldn't. Trevor Lawrence had 27 throws. 27 throws, and 13 of them are to Gabe Davis and Britton Strange. When you have Brian Thomas Jr., when you have Christian Kirk, that's not right. So they got to figure that out. I absolutely do. And it's not getting easier. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show here, it's not getting easier. Buffalo Bills, Monday Night Football in week 3. Houston after that in Houston. I think this offense, it has what it needs to be a decent, cohesive offense. I really do. Could the play callers be giving them more easy buttons than they are right now? Could they be calling plays that maybe the offensive line and the receivers could execute a little bit better? Yeah, they absolutely could. Could the offensive line and the receivers be executing a little bit better? Yeah, they could. Could Trevor Lawrence be playing better, especially than he did in the first half of this game? Yeah, he could. But to me, I guess I would say through the first 2 games, you've seen 3 really good Trevor Lawrence quarters in week 1, 2 good Trevor Lawrence quarters in week 2, both in the second half. They just didn't give Trevor the opportunities in the fourth quarter against the Dolphins, and in the first half against the Browns, he struggled. And the Browns have a very good defense. That's another thing that people forget about. Like, that's probably the best defense in football. When you combine scheme, coaching, defensive front, linebackers, secondary, they're really good. So, again, I think this offense can get where it needs to be competitive, to kind of play a little bit more complementary football with the defense, which I think the defense is doing a good job. It had its issues early on in this game as well, the Jaguars defense, but they've got to, in that, there's nothing I can do that's going to make any difference. There's nothing you can do. It's got to come from within that building. They've got to go figure out how to get a win over these next 2 games. We're going to take it 1 week at a time here, though. It's a week from the Jaguars taking on the Buffalo Bills, Monday Night Football in Buffalo. So that's the next task. But we're going to continue to review this game, look at the offense and the defense. Obviously, just looked at the offense. Look at the defense as well, and continue to kind of plug away here And then obviously we're going to preview that football game, have a lot of content for you coming up. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out ginjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear, become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one.